You guys okay? Good. All right, I'd like to get started. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to Master Bogdanski's celebration of his 30 years in the martial arts, as well as his promotion. Run faster, faster. Don't spill that drink. Okay. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Diana Haggerty. I'm a Master Belt with Master Bogdanski. I teach at the Norwich Martial Arts Center, and I've been with Master B for over 10 years. And tonight I'm going to be your MC. As well, I'm going to be the time enforcer for all the speakers, so if they go over 5 minutes and you see me wrestle them to the ground, that's probably why. And try to keep it short and have a good time tonight. So I want everybody to just go out and have a good time, yell, laugh, I don't care, just have fun, because that's what this is about tonight. Now, Master Bogdanski had taught me for many years, as well as he taught me how to teach. And one of the most important things that Master Bogdanski taught me about teaching is how to lead the student to your expectations, how to make sure to ensure success by leading the right way and giving the right questions. So tonight, in case you guys are a dull crowd, I took the liberty of leading you in the right direction. So feel free to practice. No, wait a minute. Try this one here. Yeah, let's go. Now, maybe I didn't make myself clear, so let's try this again. Get stinking loud. Now, I don't want to get thrown out or anything, and I do feel kind of nervous up here, so if you can give me a standing O. Look like this. All right. So for you people that are coming up here, you're more than welcome to use these if you feel it's going flat, okay? Keep you out of trouble. Okay, we're going to start off with a presentation. We're going to have speakers come up first, one at a time, and they're going to share with you personal experiences so you can get a better feel for what Master Bogdanski's career was about. And some of these things are for newer people who have not been with him as long, which I'm kind of looking forward to the guys that he had gone through the ranks with to hear from. And some of the family will come up and tell you how they were endured with Master Bogdanski's training and how it affected them and how it changed him and made him who he is today. First of all, I want to tell you a little about Master Bogdanski. And one of the things that I found about him that make him special outside of other black belts, instructors, and masters is that he's committed to personal growth. And if anybody knows him in this room, you know he's always trying to get better. And that's our black belt motto, always to strive for better. Constant and never-ending improvement. He's been a role model and a leader to many young and old, and he has an excellent sense of humor, which sometimes you're not sure if it's there, but he's always got something in the back of his mind. And I want to share one with you that I thought was pretty funny, that just floored me. I'm not the smallest person in the world, and one day I was following Master Bogdanski around the school, and he had seen us ducking out behind the trash cans, behind the desk, and it's just like a little ninja going behind him as he was going up the stairs. He turned around, and I had nowhere to hide, so I turned sideways, and he said, "Mrs. Haggerty, if you didn't turn sideways, I don't think I would have saw you." I died. I couldn't believe that. Was really good. All right. So he's got a good sense of humor. All right. We're going to start off our program by having the family come up for speaking. And I'd like to start with one of his closest mentors, his namesake, Mike Bogdanski. Uncle Mike.
You want to test it one more time before I get up there?
Yeah. Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike! No, wait, that's this. This is a cue to take your clothes off.
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't know I was supposed to come up here and say anything to you, but first I want to apologize because I think I was asked to be in the room next door. My reputation as a Toastmaster at weddings and making the wedding toast I mean, I'm well known like that. And now that I was already paid for being next door and being here, because it's much more fun here, I just want to give my card to Linda Garcia if she ever needs anybody to give a wedding toast in the near future. But seriously, you know, God makes families, individuals make friends, and I'm so pleased and proud of Uncle Mike, and I call him Uncle Mike. I've seen him over the years grow, and like we just mentioned here, the key of Michael's success in life, his key is motivation, and his motto is Mike asks for little but gives a lot. He always was a giving, outgoing person. He has the stamina. He's a role model to the young kids. He demands respect because he deserves it and he earned it. I don't want to spend too much time up here. All I can say is that life is counted in blessings. I was blessed by a beautiful wife. I'm blessed by a beautiful daughter. I am blessed by my Jeannie and my John and Uncle Mike. Family is the key, and it's very important to us. When I see Steve and I see Peoples, I'm going back 25, 30 years. These are friends. You grow with your friends. You show your children. Friendship is one of the most important aspects of life. And now, in closing, I've got to do something because I'm me. Now, would you please all stand? Sir! Now, please, it's very serious now. Now, would you please join hands with the person next to you? Are we all ready? And now, would you please bow your heads? And now, please, repeat after me as you move to the right. Ring around the rosy.
Thank you, Uncle Mike. We always can count on you.
Better shut that one off.
Excuse me, I got one thing I have to say. One more thing. Because this doesn't work. I have other parts that don't work either. All I want to say is that I had nothing to do with Uncle Mike's success in karate. But I remember many, many years ago.
Okay.
What did I say? Okay, I'm back. The thing is, I had nothing to do with Uncle Mike's success in karate. But I do know that many, many years ago, when he was younger, he came up to me and says, Uncle Mike, could you tell me about the birds of bees? And I had no success with Uncle Mike with the birds of the bees of karate, so I'm going to sit down.
Thank you very much. So that's when Nancy started at a very young age. He was 10 years old when he started taking professional boxing lessons from Roland Pierre. And at that time, I think at 16, he started to take another style in knowledge called Shokokin. I knew it was Shinkai. I knew I was going to mess it up. He's been busting me because I couldn't say it. I've been practicing all day. I was perfect. But during that time, he had a lot of support from his family members, his sisters and brothers. So I'd like to have John come up, and I knew I would do this. Jamie, and also, I'd like also have Jamie come on up this time. Say a couple words.
Would you like to start? Okay. All right. Try to my first memories of you in the martial arts, I go back to, and you guys aren't going to believe this, but Mike really was a white belt at one point, honest to God. And we were in the backyard at my parents' house, and we were filming a movie. And the movie was an 8mm, and it was called Kung Fu Fighting. There was no sound. All you had was an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. But every once in a while, we'd write something down and put it in front of the cameras and go scene 2, and go on to another story.
have that film still.
You do. That's how I remember starting even getting involved in the martial arts with
And you'll
Mike.
never see it.
But even then, Mike was committed. I'll never forget walking around the house, 10, 11, 12 years old, and there's Mike. He'd walk along, he'd throw a punch. He'd wait, take another step, he'd throw a kick. He'd stand in front of the mirror, and he would practice. He would be that committed to go through the program. Unfortunately, a kid my age, I felt like I was living with Bruce Lee. This guy was going around just, if there was no uki or no training partner, it happened to be me. So that was fun. I had a good time. We really, I really enjoyed it when we started to go and do more training, because at that point, it took a little bit of the heat off me. Which brings up another interesting story, because when we were at that age, Mike would do anything. Anything to do with the martial arts really piqued his interest. It got so interesting that he would go out and he would develop his own weapons. My parents were in the construction business, and they had gutters. And during that period of time, they would punch the gutter out in just little circles. Well, Mike and I had this really nifty idea that we could make stars. And we could make these stars like ninja stars. So in my parents' house, there was a hallway. Mike would be studying in one end, I'd be right across the hall in the other. And here I am reading, not paying attention, really devoted to my studies, and all of a sudden I hear a little ting. And I look around, Mike's working hard, I look across the hallway, I hear another little ting. I start feeling stuff on top of my head. I look around, he's throwing stars at me. And he's hitting them across the top of my head. So, you know, I pick one up, go, hey Mike. I threw it. Just as I threw it, he turned his head up, this thing went bang! So if you look, there's a little scar on top of his head, that's for me. It gets better. I look over, and I'm sure you know that little switch Mike talks about, that little bit of power, anger, energy you need to just get to when you really have to. I looked over and I saw his eyes. And I said to myself, I better get out of here. As I started to take a couple of steps, I looked over and I realized he couldn't get it out of his head. It had barbed. So he's sitting there, he's looking at me like, I'm going to kill you, but first, before I kill you, you've got to help me. So I ran over, I leaned over, and literally I felt it go pop. It popped out, I looked at it, I looked at him, and I ran as fast as I could. Ran down the hall, didn't catch me. At that point, whenever we fought, and we did a lot, we put the gloves on, we had a really good time. You guys, I'm sure, have at one point or another put on 16-ounce gloves, and these things are like big pillows. I mean, it's really hard to hurt somebody with these things. I gotta tell you, I had mouses here, I had black eyes there. We shared a lot of that stuff. We really went to town. One of the things that I really enjoyed is when we went to fight and spar, it was, everything else stopped. You just went right to it. And it was fun. I mean, I never have seriously been hit as hard as that man has ever hit me before. But I say that really with a lot of love because it was a lot of fun. We had a really good time.
I like that you get to.
Oh, thanks, Mike. So those are the battles with the 16-ounce gloves. When you talk about desire and Mike in the martial arts, I can remember years ago, we went to, I believe it was your first tournament. It was one in upstate New Hampshire. And Mike wanted to work out and wanted to train and really wanted to compete there. The tournament went on for hours. We didn't get out of there until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. But one of the things that really made an impact all the way over to the car, and I think my brother's, yeah, you're really going to be a good guy. You held your head up, you walked away from the guy, you didn't want to fight. That's what I expected. My brother looked at me and said, this guy's really giving you a hard time. I said, yeah, Mike, you're right. He says, well, you gotta do something about that. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're not gonna get in this car, and I'm not gonna give you a ride home unless you do something about it now. I looked at him and said, you can't be serious. He said, no, you're really gonna make a mistake. I put my books down, I walked over, kicked him right in the groin, put him right down, turned back and said, okay, let's go home. It was amazing. I was always thought that, gee, you really should walk away from that, and I really did do that in many occasions, but this guy was unbelievable. And for Mike to come up and say, stand up and do it, that made a big impact. And I did it. It was wonderful. So as far as motivating and touching people, he certainly has done that with me, and I know he's done that with a lot of people in the room today, and I know that means an awful lot to him. Thank you all for coming.
Hello, I'm his son, James, and alright, well, I only started taking karate about almost a year ago, and that might surprise some of you since he's a karate guy and you expect his son to be like this deadly assassin ninja, which Bug has said to me many times. And but I did take karate for a while when I was like 7 years old. And I remember one time when I was in school, someone walked up to me and asked me if I knew how to throw a punch or a kick. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, why don't you show it to me? We can have a little fight. And I said, I don't think so. And I just want to thank my dad for giving me the strength to know how to walk away from a situation like that. Because if he hadn't been there for me to tell me, like, you don't have to fight someone, that you can walk away and there's an easier way to get out of a fight than by throwing a punch. So I just walked away from the kid, and that was that. And let's see. All right. Well, he's a great guy. I'm happy for everyone in this room that they've got to meet him and to know him, and I hope that everyone has turned out for the better after knowing Mike Bogdanski. And I just want to thank him again for being a great father, for guiding me and pushing me to my best, and I hope he continues to do that through my life, and I hope he does that for all of you. And I just want to say it's an honor to be your son.
And James, you're a great kid. I can't believe it's 30 years. I mean, it's a blink of an eye. It seems like yesterday. And I just want to tell everyone, I'm the younger sister. Oh! I look younger, don't I? 30 years ago, I don't know if you remember this story, Michael. I joined the karate school of Mr. Joe de Guzman also. One of us went on to higher achievements and one of us didn't. But at that time, I remember going to Fort Shantok in Montville, and Mr. de Guzman had brought in a guest instructor from Korea that day. And I remember him beating the heck out of all of us. Do you remember that, Michael?
Very well.
And I think that, those are probably some of the defining moments of how, the negative things kind of motivate you in life, and I'm sure that was one of the times that Michael really wanted to move on and achieve more in karate. So I'll fast forward to those, the karate days of the tournaments of the Bogdanski and Best days, when Mrs. B, our mother, used to volunteer all the family members and Al Pachico to volunteer to work at the karate tournaments. And inevitably we had to wake up early during that day and work very hard, and then we all went out after dinner. And year after year, Mr. Peoples would always come by to say to Mrs. B, he always wanted to shock her, and he'd say, someday I'm going to marry your daughter, Mrs. B. So anyway, I think just in closing, what I wanted to say is that some things that people have already echoed tonight is how motivational, inspirational he is. And I think that's a testament to what he's done for children over the years. All the articles that have been written about him and how he's influenced children's lives. So I just want to say, we're really proud of you. And if Mom and Dad were here, they'd be proud too.
Wow.
I'd like to thank Jeannie for moving us fast forward, because that's just where we're going to go next. The next stage in Master Bogdanski's career was when he started at college and he changed styles to Tom Sudo. Coffee and cake. I forgot. Everybody help yourself to coffee and cake. All right. Well, it's available if anybody's really needs some. But you got to walk behind me. So I want to fast forward to when he was in college and taking Tom Sudo. He went to Connecticut State University and as well as Nichols College. And while at Nichols College, he had become very good friends with Stephen Bess. And this was part of his family and his best friend ever that I know of. He takes Tom Sudo in Jiu-Jitsu. He knew him for about 25 years. That's a long time. So 25 years of his college. So we'd like to have Master Bess come up and speak.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Mr. Bess, Steve Bess, and it's a great honor to be here tonight. I had a stroke 15 years ago, and it hasn't stopped me yet. And I thought about coming up here and being very dignified, and I don't think so.
Let's start now.
One of the stories I like to relate to you is when we were at Central Connecticut State College then, and Mike was a student there, and I was a student, and Dougie was a student, and I invited Mike up to see my break paddle block with my hand. And I invited him up to my house, and I got ready to break the paddle block with my hand, and I concentrated on it. And Mike broke out laughing, and he couldn't stop laughing. And
I still can't.
hey, that was about 25 years ago. And Mike, will you stop laughing now? It's a great honor to be here tonight.
Thank you.
And Mike, I love you. And oh.
film called Best Martial Arts. It's 10, and my picture on the front.
And Mike, I said, Mike, you're a true friend. Thank you.
Also, while he was at Connecticut State College, he also met Buddy Peoples, who's a 7th degree black belt in Pong Sudo, and one of the funniest men I ever met in my life. Are you getting ready?
Oh yeah.
All right. Hey, can I tell him the story about when you dressed up like a woman?
Half man,
Half woman. Oh, it's awesome. He sat on Master Bogdanski's lap so the woman was facing forward. He's caressing him in front of, I don't know, like 150 people. And then he jumped to the other side and grossed himself out. So I'd like to have a Dougie Peoples.
Thank you. First, I'd like to say congratulations, Michael B. You've been around quite a long time. We won't mention how long. 30 years? When I started at Central Connecticut State University, I had just come from Iowa. I was at a small college in Iowa, and I said, well, I gotta go back. I can't take Iowa. There was too many cows, you know, and the movies were only getting there at the time that I've already seen them 6 months ago. So I knew it was time to come back home. So I went to Central Connecticut State University, and I needed an activity. So I joined karate, but I made a mistake. I went and I joined a club, and it was a Kung Fu club. And I was at the Kung Fu club, and I was doing all the moving around, and I said, I am good, I am bad. I'm going to this tournament. And there was an inter-club tournament, there was a club tournament that Mr. Bogdanski and Mr. Best was running, and I went out there and started fighting with these guys from the Tang Sudo Club. I didn't know who the hell they were. They were the club, there was 2 clubs on the campus, and I didn't know who the hell they were. Who was this Boggs and Bogdanski and Best? I got out there, got in the ring, I was a badass, shut your mouth. I got in the ring, and I got beat 1, 2, 3, over, gone. Do you know on Monday morning I went and switched clubs? I went and I joined the Tang Sudo Club. I had to leave the Kung Fu Club because I got my ass kicked very quickly. And then I was lucky enough to follow Mr. B and Mr. Best. Mr. B said, now I would have never known where the hell Danielson was if I didn't find Mr. B. But he took me to the Voluntown Open. I said, what's a Voluntown Open? It's a tournament where you fight outside, while people on the other side are cutting logs at the same time. So I am dodging people cutting logs and fighting outside at the Voluntown Open. Well, needless to say, that was an experience. But you never have an experience until you hang out with Michael B. and his dad at the bar. I figured I'd go to this nice bar in a small town where, you know, not much was happening. I'll come up. They want me to be the MC. Sure, I'll be the MC. They didn't tell me it was strip night. And they had all the strippers coming on and running around, and the people in the crowd are telling the MC, take your clothes off. I think not. I'm not taking my clothes off, I'm not getting paid for this. So, the end of the night up, what do the bees do? John, Mike, they get into a fight with one of the Patriots. They're throwing some guy out, beating the hell out of him. So so much for the small town. It is a wonderful thing to have friends like Michael and Steve, because you know when you go to karate tournaments and you see all this musical stuff now, all the flipping of the bows and everything doing to the music, I can honestly say that these two were one of the originators of that, because they came out one tournament and blew everybody away with dueling banjos. They came out and the two of them started doing their thing, synchronizing to music with their weapons. Two nunchucks going back and forth. And from that point on, I saw an explosion in people doing synchronized weapons to music. So that is one of the bases that that synchronized weapons came from. These two guys fought all over the world, all over the country. They chased the points. They brought me along. I chased the points with them. We did it together. We had fun doing it. We had respect for the people that were doing it. We can get in the ring and beat the hell out of each other and still go have a drink afterwards. That's what the true martial arts is about. Because people have attitudes in the martial arts. But it's really the people, oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's really the people that have the attitude that haven't done a damn thing. Because if they got respect for each other, they'll never have an attitude. Michael B., I want to thank you for being a part and doing what you've done for the martial arts, and I just want to give you this, please. Can you come here, please? I mean, you're supposed to be the MC. You're way back there. Can you hold this for a second? All right, don't drop it.
Can I move?
No. Phone. Mr. B, I don't need a mic.
That is true. That is true.
I was only doing a mic to help you.
Thank you.
As a little token of my appreciation for all your years of martial arts devotion and contribution, next year, your friend.
Next up, I'd like to have another Peloton show master, Master Stockton from Rutland, Vermont. And every year we go up to visit him for his school tournaments, and I know Master Lee, he's been going up for years as well. So I'd like to have him come up and say a story. If you want to dance later, this guy can cut it up.
First thing, sir. My name is Mark Stockton from Rutland, Vermont. You know, I didn't know, my wife was telling me for the last couple of weeks, all right now, Mark, write it down, write it down. What are you going to say? Don't get up there stumbling your words. What are you going to say? What are you going to say? I said, I'm thinking about it. All I can say is this. A little about 20 years ago, I met Mike, Doug, Steve, and at the same tournament, Billy Blanks. It was in Enfield, Connecticut. I was Goju Rue at the time. I'm similar to like what Master People said. We were that, you know, until I saw Steve Best fight. I said, wow. And then I saw Master Bogdanski fight. And I started talking to Mr. Best first. And at that time, to get me into Tang Sudo. And I said they had to find out if I was worthy of it. And I started with Mr. Fernandez, if you remember right. But from here to that, all I can say is this. This is a man who came to my tournament 15 years ago and had no idea where Rutland, Vermont was. And I'll never forget this. My wife and I were there at the, in fact, Master Islam was there, who came at the same time. And Mike pulls out, and at the time I think he had a Cougar. And I see him come out, and the long bow staff comes out. Comes out of the back seat of the car.
Cougar. The bow was long.
And he says, where in the hell is a Rutland, Vermont? But from that time on, we've gotten closer and closer and closer. In November of 1990, I was honored to go with the Chiefs of Tang Sudo to be a member of the U.S. team to go to Moscow. And when we were over there, I did breaking in Moscow. And all I could hear was just be in the back. Neutralize it. Neutralize it. And so I put on a little fancy show for him, and they broke. And he wrote one heck of an article on my performance in Moscow. And I couldn't believe it until someone called me up and told what he wrote about myself at Moscow. He's not only a martial artist, he is a martial artist. If there isn't a federation called Bogdanski, there should be one.
Oh,
And
no,
Mike,
we don't want him to go that.
but there should be one. And Mike, you're gonna be my friend from 20 years ago, and you're gonna be my friend and Becky's for the next 20. It's not a whole lot they can say, but you are a true martial artist. God bless you, and I hope you have another 30 more. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Stockton. Next, I'd like to present some people that Master Bogdanski, over the years of doing the tournaments, had made really good friends through. And so we're lucky to have these people here tonight. And just a side note, when I started karate, I actually started in Go-Jiru. And I got to my very first tournament in Boston, Massachusetts. I was so excited. I was a white belt. And I remember sitting in the stands and watching these two guys do forms like I've never seen in my life. Just changed my life. And I go to my fellow student, I said, wow, that guy's really good. I'd like to learn from somebody like that. They practically kicked me out of my seat because, dummy, like, teaches 2 miles down the road from you. So, like, after like I finished out my college years, I went and sought out Master Bogdanski because I knew what he could do prior to ever experiencing the karate at his school. So, next up, I'd like to have Wali Islam. Wali Islam is an 8th degree professor, and he's known him since 1978. Hey, I think I was just born then. And
I'll
he
be there
teaches.
at our next test with you, sir.
This guy actually teaches like a mile from my house. So Wali Islam.
Thank you, brother. It wouldn't be me if I didn't start off with some kind of spiritual concept. And I offer you the greetings of Islam, of Assalamu alaikum. May the peace of God be upon you, now and for the next 30 years. Like many of my peers that came before me, I probably could tell you a number of stories and some funny things, but I want to take and focus on a couple of things. And one of the things when we talked about with friendship, and we talked about dedication to the martial arts, and we talk about commitment and giving to communities, and these are the things that really make life worthwhile. And I've known Mike a very long time, and he's been in my corner, and he's been a friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a few years because I've been busy. I have a 5-year-old, and I have a 7-year-old, and I have a 35-year-old, so I'm trying to maintain those. It's been a pleasure. Nevertheless, I want to tell you about one story when Dougie says maybe we should or Mark says we should have a federation for Mike. I said, you know, the hell with the federation, just be who you are, because you don't need to be Dr. Dr. Mike. I said, we have too many doctors and professors and Shions and all that other stuff. You know, you just be a teacher and God will bless you forever. Nevertheless, speaking of the doctor, several years ago I was fighting up in Boston. Mike was the head referee. And prior to that particular fight, I had just had a little conflict with a former student who was a former student at that particular time, and he wanted to compete. He wanted to get a reputation off of, I guess, me. And Mike was the head referee, and at that time we said, okay, gentlemen, light contact to the face. And I think Mike was aware of the fact that I was having this little conflict with this former student of mine, which Mr. Peoples allowed to become a doctor. He was the base for the doctor. So nevertheless, Mike bowed in. He said, gentlemen, watch the contact. Let's make this a real clean match. Well, I was a little high-strung back then. I think I was probably around 48, 49. So, you know, when you're 48, 49, you're kind of youthful. So he said, fight. And I hit this gentleman with everything but the kitchen sink. And Mike said, slow down a little bit. Point! We continued to fight. I threw another kick, and I thought his head was going to fall off his shoulders. Mike said, slow down. Point! So he came at me again, and then I threw a punch that would have knocked a hole in the wall. Mike looked at me and says, good technique. Point! And this poor fellow says, and you gonna call excessive contact? Mike said the match is over. Winner. So we want to thank you for allowing me to have a little vintage at that particular time. I had to make an extra prayer that night for allowing myself to get too far-fetched with that. But nevertheless, friendship is the key. And friendship is the thing that really had motivated me. And I wouldn't have missed this for the world. I had an engagement. I was supposed to fight. That's right, I shouldn't say this. I was supposed to do a kickboxing match in Canada, and the promoter canceled, which allowed me to come here. The only reason I was going to go up there and fight because it was like $5,000. I'm sorry. But I do have something for you. And I have something that's probably going to have a whole lot more effect. You know the old adage, a picture's worth 1,000 words. And when you see this picture, you'll remember.
Just want you to know I only made him a nurse, not a doctor.
Would you open this and show these two gentlemen here?
Wow. We're all not here in this picture.
Thank you, Mr. Islam. Next up, I'd like to have Nancy Lee Serial. Nancy Lee is a 7th degree black belt in Kempo, and she originally met Master Bogdanski through tournaments as well. Nancy. Thank you.
I can't tell you what year it was, because it's been so many years, because I guess we both go back about the same amount of time. But standing here, first of all, let me say, listening to you gentlemen speak about things that happened at tournaments that I was at, bring back a great deal of memory. I remember very distinctly the dueling banjos and how it set the crowd afire. I really do remember that. Well, the first time I saw, not actually met, but saw Mr. Bogdanski was at a tournament. I can't tell you which tournament, there's so many. But from across the room I heard this very unique ki. You see those laughing, they know what I'm talking about. I said, who is that? I never heard a ki like that. I gotta go see who's making that noise. I go over there, and I'm glad I went over there, because there was this gentleman doing an outstanding bow form with this wild Kia. And somebody stood next to me and said, "What the heck kind of a noise is that?" I said, look at this person performing, and let's appreciate what he's doing." How does this thing work?
It doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. The story of my life. Well, I'm not as good at remembering things as most of these gentlemen are. It must be something to do with my age. I don't know, how old, can I ask how old you are, sir?
46.
You want to trade places?
I'll trade places.
I understand that you do some target shooting.
Yeah.
Do you ever go hunting? No. Well, just in case. Well, I know you're a golfer too. And just in case, I have this thing I came across, and I knew I had to read it for you because I wouldn't want to see anything happen to you out in the wild. And this is an advisory from the Wildlife Advisory Commission. It's very important for all of those who might be out there fishing, hunting, camping, whatever. It says, the Colorado State Department of Fish and Wildlife is advising hikers, hunters, fishers, and golfers to take extra precaution and to keep alert for grizzly bears while in the Dillon, Breckenridge, and Keystone areas. They advise that people wear noise-producing things such as small bells, just enough so the bears can hear you, but not enough to startle them, and carry pepper gas just to be on the safe side. But they also want you to know that it's a good idea to watch for fresh signs of bear activity in the area. Now, brown bears leave certain particular droppings that you can recognize to be brown bears. They have small berries in them, and sometimes squirrel fur. Grizzly bear droppings, however, sometimes contain bells and smell like pepper. So I thought you'd better be aware of that. See, I wish I could remember these years. I'm not good at remembering what years we went to the Bermuda Grand Nationals. Remember those? That was fun, wasn't it? All black belt event, only black belt competitors. You remember that? Great, it was fantastic. I was honored to be one of the officials at that event.
Oh.
And I...
You didn't talk to nobody, though.
In any case, Mr. Bogdanski was at that event as well. Unfortunately, I have a picture of us, and I wanted to give it to him tonight, and I just can't seem to locate it, but I will get it to you. I will get you a copy of that, I promise. Professor Serio, who is no longer with us, was in that picture as well as along with W. Peoples. Okay. But on the plane ride down, I remember a very interesting incident here. Mr. Bogdanski was sitting beside somebody else, and a Polish friend of his, and he said, this is going to be a nice trip. I happen to be sitting right behind them, so I overhear this conversation. And as soon as we take off from the airport, the airline pilot comes on and says, geez, we're having a little bit of trouble with one of our engines. We're going to be a little delayed getting into Bermuda. So a little while later, he comes on and says, oh, looks like one engine has gone out. We're going to take at least another 20 minutes before we can land in Bermuda. Oh, boy. So then, a little while later, goes up, the pilot comes on again, says, gee, another engine is burned out. Looks like it's going to take about 30 minutes to 45 minutes before we can land in Bermuda. And then shortly after that, he says, oh my God, the third engine went out. It looks like it's going to take us at least an hour before we can land in Bermuda. Mr. Bogdanski turned to his friend and said, geez, I sure hope that fourth engine don't go, because we're going to be up here all day. Mike, it's been a very great pleasure knowing you over the years and watching you perform. And although I don't know you as well as your friends that you have here that you've trained with over the years, I can see by their love and support how much you mean to them. And I know that a person's wealth is measured in the friends that he has. Not the money that he has, but in the friends and the love that comes from that. And I want to say that I am honored to be hopefully counted amongst that, because you sure are a fine martial artist. Your performance, what I've seen over the years, and I remember you duplicating the dueling banjos with someone else in this room too. And that was with Mr. Best. And I remember that tournament as well. I enjoyed immensely looking through those photo albums, especially seeing the tournament memories from George Chartier's tournament, which is, I was at all those tournaments. God, we're old. Jeez, how did we get here? 30 years went like that, did it not? In any case, I'd like to thank the young lady that invited me to come here, because there she is. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. As a matter of fact, I want you to know how much it meant for me to come here. I actually had a date tonight. You don't get those too often. I left him home. Seriously speaking, I was at a seminar in Medford, Massachusetts, and I came over here, but the truth is, there was something else I did have planned, but I am very deeply honored to be here instead. And Mike, I hope you have another 30, 40 years of martial arts. And I hope to see you as much as I can over those years. Thank you very much.
Oh, those are mine. Don't take off with my fingers.
Oh, I
Thank you very much. Earlier we were talking about how we went to Russia. Grandmaster Stockton was talking about how we had gone with the the U.S. karate team out there. And while we were there, Master Bogdanski performed, I think, out of the top 6 acts we had that had to keep coming back, he was in 3 of them. So that's pretty impressive. They really did love him out there. While out there, he sparred in a tournament, open tournament at the sports complex. And at that time, he had met a man named Nunza, and they became good, fast friends. And if I'm not correct, I think this is the gentleman that you had given your gear to that night. No, that was somebody else. All right, never mind, scratch that story. But I like having Nunza because they've kept friendship since then, and they've always keep in contact. And it's nice to see how we can go all the way across the world and still make friends through the martial arts. Nunza.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I have to apologize for my English, but I hope that I'll be understandable. I thought that I'm the youngest friend of Mike, but today he reminded me that we met 9 years from now, and it's quite a time. And I would like to remember that day. When I was watching this performance in the competition, I mentioned that several people were among the best of them, and when there was a break, I met them, I talked to them, and all of them, they named one person, Master Bogdanski, who's the teacher, and I didn't know who was that. And then they introduced me to Master Bogdanski, and after that break, I watched the performance of Mike, and that was truly great. I'm practicing martial arts quite long, not as long as Mike, it's only 16 years. But I changed a lot of styles. I started karate, and after that I practiced Japanese Shorin-Rikyu, it's from one of violence, and after that I continued with Chinese Kung Fu, and then practicing Chinese Kung Fu. So what is very important, how a person moves. And what I saw that day was miraculous. And it was something which I didn't expect it. And I was really very glad that I met Master Bogdanski. And we had very short time, by that time in Moscow. We had little fun there. And when I came first time to America, I met Master Bogdanski. He invited me to his house, and we had a lot of time. And what I can say, I believe that real friendship doesn't need a lot of contact. So we met several times only. I can say that we're spending a lot of time together, but the real feeling is that he's living in my heart. I know that I have a friend here, and a lot of students of mine and students of my students, all of them know that in the United States, in Connecticut, there is Master Bogdanski, who's great martial artist, great person, and I have to say that too. As a matter of fact, today I had to be in Russia, and after that going to China, but I changed my plans, I changed my ticket, because I couldn't miss this event, because I'm really proud that I am a friend of Master Bogdanski. It's really an honor for me. So thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for being my friend. All my students saying hello to you. All of them know that I'm here tonight. And I brought a very little present, just, what is it? Oh, yes. This is just a little souvenir, but I hope that it will remind you that in Russia and in China you have good friends. This is a little statue of Shaolin Master, and this one. In Chinese tradition, they have the title, which is a real hero, as they say. And I brought a little painting here, which is a very famous Chinese character. His name is Zhong Hui. But as a matter of fact, he's a spirit of the greatest warrior of all the times, with Archer Yi, the surname Yi. And he was so great that all the evil spirits and all the people, bad people together couldn't kill him. And when he died, his spirit became exorcist. And whenever hangs this this image, all the bad influences avoids that place, and it attracts happiness, wealth, and fame. So I hope when this thing will hang in your club, it will develop better and better. And you'll sometimes remember that you have friends in Russia and even in China. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Ninja. All right, 3 years, Master Bogdanski has taught at many places, but his first real home where he started teaching martial arts was in a little town called Thompson at the Koinonia School of Sports. And the original people that started there, I think one of your very first students over there is here tonight. And I want to tell a little story about this person first. This is Mrs. Kaskingay. She'll be up next. One day in class, we're doing some drills. We're trying to push the other person off down, some like pushy hand things. And Master Bogdanski, he likes to bring out the best in people, so he was kind of really edging Mrs. Kaskingay to go, because she was kind of, she didn't really want to push him. So he's pushing her, and so she's trying to get in there and push him. And he was feeling bad, so he was going to give her a little extra. And while he was there, I don't know if everybody remembers Mike Fitzgerald. He crawls up behind him so he can't see him, and then she just pushed him right over the back of him. And that was so funny. It's one of the memories that sticks out the most for me, for Mrs. Kaskingay. And I'd like to have her up to say something, please.
Mr. B, I don't know what to say to you. I've been with you for 15 years. You've encouraged me, you've trained me, you helped me get confidence, and I just want to say thank you for all of that.
After we left Corn and Air, Master Bogdanski started his own school, bought his own building, which him and his dad and his brother. At that time I didn't know him and I kept mistaking the two for each other. He opened his own school in Putnam where he had started the Mike Bogdanski School of Karate. While there he had a student, Will Marati, and he's going to come up and say a few words too.
I'd like to say, first of all, I'm honored, really, all kidding aside from titles and professors and chinos, but it is an honor to see all you really awesome martial artists here, some of you coming from great distance to be here tonight, and I think it's a great testimony to your friendship to Master Bogdanski, and I applaud you for coming tonight. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I too have not known Mike all that long. I'm only a small portion of the 30 years, I guess 8 or 9 years that we've gone back now. And it was about that time that I was wanting to get into a physical training program, and I thought aerobics was a little bit too feminine, and I just didn't have the time to do the grueling weightlifting training. And one of his students, Mrs. Cody, a black belt, Judy Cody, encouraged me to try martial arts, and I said, oh, I don't know, martial arts. The only thing I can think about martial arts, it's like Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers and Karate Kid stuff. You know, it's not really something I'm interested in. So I went down and I met with my Master Bogdanski, and he said, well, I really think it'd be great for you. I think it'd be strenuous enough for you. And I said, I really want a good workout. I want something that's really going to push me, you know, and I just don't think martial arts is it. He goes, well, you just try it and see. And I learned very quickly what a sensitive man he is, because it was in the first class. And we were doing our warm-ups, and we were stretching and going through the exercises, and I felt about as flexible as an oak tree. And I was really tucking it up, and I was trying to do my best, and I was just so tired. And this is the warm-ups, I can't make the rest of the class. I can't believe this. And Mr. Bogdanski came up and back at me, real tenderly, real gently. He knelt beside me and said, Mr. Marati, you were worried if this would be strenuous enough for you. I don't think you're going to make it through the warm-ups. And I've always appreciated his sensitivity to that. I spend a lot of my time talking, strangely enough, and I'm a teacher and I'm a communicator. I'm a student of communication. And one of the things that I admire about Mike is that he is an awesome teacher. And you're a great communicator, and you're a great motivator. And I know when we would spar in class, and we would spar in rotation, whenever he would put on the gear and get into rotation and sparring, I know my notch always turned up a little bit when I got a chance to go up against him. And he always brought out the best in me in terms of fighting, and I appreciated that. But beyond being a good teacher, a great instructor, you've really become a good friend. And particularly in times these past few years when I've really needed a good friend. And you're a loyal friend, you're a trusting friend. And I admire your sensitivity, I admire your humility, because a lot of martial artists do have attitudes, we know. And if you go to tournaments, you see the attitude just pouring out of people, and it's sickening sometimes. But you don't exude that. You exude true humility, which I believe is a great part of martial arts. And we've talked many times. We've talked about the friendship that we have, and about the only way that I can describe it, how I feel it. Probably no one here has seen this, but have you ever read the book series Anne of Green Gables? Anyone ever familiar with that? No. Okay. Well. No.
You're talking to martial arts.
Well, they've got it in video now too. But if you've ever,
we read the little Ninja Turtles.
the heroine of the Anne of Green Gables series is Anne Shirley, And Anne Shirley goes through her life as, from childhood, she's an orphan, she goes through life as a childhood all the way through into her young adult years, and she's constantly looking and seeking for a kindred spirit. Someone that she really will be able to understand and have her understand, reciprocating. Mike has become a kindred spirit to me, and I love you, Mike. I pray for you regularly. I pray that God will continue to pour out His blessing in your life. And we honor you tonight, and I thank you.
I'd like to have Linda Garcia up next, please. We're going to give the Master Bogdanski. Can you come up as well? I'm going to need you up here for a little bit. While Miss Garcia is getting that, first of all, I want to thank her for doing so much work and putting this together. I don't think this would have gone off as good as it did if we didn't have her here today. Let's give her a big hand.
Thank you, Mrs. Haggerty, for being a fantastic MC. This is a book put together by Mrs. Joan Scanlon. Thank you. I'd have her come up here, but I wanted to hurt her knee. She just had surgery on Tuesday. You never could tell the way she's been able to get around. Anyway, she organized this.
If she talks back to me again, the other knee's going to be interesting.
This is a book for you, put together by Mrs. Scanlon. There are different sentiments in it, different pictures from your students, from your family, and I'd like this to be passed around for anyone who didn't get a chance to contribute to this, to write in something. And yes, many years ago, Mr. Best with hair. Anyway, this you'll have a time to look at it for your leisure. I hope you treasure it, and it's from your students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Don't go too far, Master B. Next up, I'd like to have Lynn Pascarella, I'm sorry.
Master B, can you rap too?
That's, I can't rap, but I hang around a lot of black guys.
He's the real Master B.
Recently, I was asked by members of the karate school in Putnam to write to 2 local public administrators on their behalf, and I was quite pleased to do so because it gave me the opportunity to honor Mr. Bogdanski. I'd like to share with you the letter that I wrote to Mayor Danny Rivero and to Governor Rowland, as well as the response that I received. I'm writing to request a special commendation in recognition of Michael Bogdanski's outstanding community service, distinctive leadership, and enduring commitment to the children in our region. This year marks the 30th anniversary of Mr. Bogdanski's involvement with martial arts. During this time, he has amassed an impressive array of accomplishments, which include rising to the ranks of Black Belt Master, earning a master's degree in psychological counseling, owning and operating a number of successful businesses, and serving as a community activist. His extraordinary capacity as a teacher of martial arts and the international reputation he has earned as a practitioner stem in part from the unusual balance he has achieved among these various roles. Indeed, Mr. Bogdanski represents for his students the kind of teacher whose community life operates in seamless integration with his principles. Master Bogdanski does not merely teach integrity, perseverance, and respect for others as the tenets of Tang Soo Do. He demonstrates them through his engagement with social issues. For the past 2 decades, he has worked tirelessly to improve the quality of life for the citizens of northeastern Connecticut. He has been a leading fundraiser for DARE, delivered lectures and performed karate demonstrations at numerous local day camps and schools, facilitated toy drives for Easter seals, donated his time and services to ARC, the Association of Retarded Citizens, the Wyndham Tallinn 4-H camp, and the Hole in the Wall Gang camp, and presented workshops for both local career day programs and the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program of Northeastern Connecticut. Each year, our local schools and countless community service organizations
benefit tremendously from his efforts. Most remarkably, Mr. Bogdanski's involvement in the community remains an active work even at the busiest times. In the midst of all these activities, Mr. Bogdanski continues to strive for personal improvement. He is currently working toward his goal of becoming a motivational speaker. Through his work, he hopes to increase his capacity for outreach to youth in the community. In addition, he is organizing a school-wide venture to Australia next year to participate in a friendship tournament. This endeavor is consistent with his continuous efforts to promote nonviolence through multiculturalism and global understanding. The scope of Mr. Bogdanski's expertise as a martial artist finds a match only in the passion he brings to it. Yet Mike's astonishing lack of personal ego stands in direct proportion to the depth of his talent. This is perhaps the truest hallmark of his dedication to his work, and one of the keys to his success in attracting and retaining the most inspired and motivated students. He challenges all students to excel, regardless of their rank and skill level. He enhances self-confidence and self-esteem by showing students that he believes in martial arts as a way of life, and this gives them courage to try it for themselves. For all of these reasons, the students, friends, and colleagues of Michael Bogdanski encourage you to recognize formally his service to Northeastern Connecticut in devotion to safeguarding the future of all children. We would be pleased to present a citation to him on your behalf at a celebration on November 6th. Thank you for your consideration. In response, I received a call from Governor Rowland on Tuesday, and a citation from Mayor Rowland as well. So I'd like to present these to Master Bogdanski and congratulate him on his accomplishments. The first is from the Office of the Mayor of the Town of Putnam, and its official citation in recognition of 30 years of involvement with martial arts and his outstanding community service, distinctive leadership, and commitment to our region's children. The entire town extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. This, from our governor, is a longer citation.
Republican.
Yes, Republican. The state of Connecticut, by His Excellency John G. Rowland, Governor, an official statement. Whereas Michael Bogdanski has spent much of his life dedicated to community service, distinctive leadership, and enduring commitment to children, and whereas this year marks his 30th anniversary of involvement with martial arts, during this time he has amassed an impressive array of accomplishments, which include rising to the ranks of Black Master and earning a degree in psychological counseling. And whereas, in addition, Michael Bogdanski has become well known for his tireless efforts to improve the quality of life for the citizens of Northeastern Connecticut. And whereas Michael Bogdanski has been a leading fundraiser for the DARE program, delivered lectures and performed karate demonstrations at numerous local day camps, facilitated toy drives, and donated his time and services. Whereas for all these reasons, the students, friends, and colleagues of Michael Bogdanski will be holding a celebration in his honor of his many accomplishments and for his years of service to the community. Now, therefore, I, John G. Rowland, Governor, do hereby officially designate November 6, 1999 as Michael Bogdanski Day in the state of Connecticut. I urge all our citizens to join in honoring Michael Bogdanski for his countless contributions to our state and people. Michael Bogdanski Day.
All right. Next thing we have planned is Master Bogdanski's gonna break dance for us. So let's go.
We are the world. We are the children.
Dance music for a second. I really appreciate everything that everybody's said and done. It's been so nice and very fulfilling. But I know you've been very patient in sitting, but what I need you to do just for a minute is to stand up, because I know that sitting is too long is no good. All right, so everybody stand up. Good shot, bless. Do something.
Fast. Now hold hands again.
Even better. Sorry to give you 2 seconds notice, Sean. Okay, everybody reach over, touch your toes. We gotta get that blood moving. Reach over, come on. Reach over. Turn around, put your hands on your partner's shoulder next to you. Everybody face one way. Face one way. Let's be daring. Give your partner a massage. You feel so good. Massage your partner, come on. Good. Switch, turn around, go the other way. Somebody get Nancy Lee. She wants a massage real bad. Massage the legs too. The legs. Get the legs. Good. Thank you. Give yourself a big hand. Good job. Have a seat. Thank you. Didn't it feel better to stand up? See, I know you were all falling asleep, even though we had some great speakers. But it feels good to move around and move that body. Before I want to say all my thanks to everything, I'd like to do some things, because the best thing I like to do is to give. You know, it's better to give than to receive, especially when you spar in Wali Islam. Yeah, we sparred a few times.
Did you get your cut of that Tybo tape yet?
Tybo. We knew Billy Blanks when Billy Blanks had hair.
Right. We still know he got a light jaw, right? I know you.
Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. So I have a few things to give out. James will come up for a second. James has been doing private lessons with me after school for a year. And so tonight I'm promoting him to his 3-stripe green belt. Congratulations.
Ask for a bigger allowance, too.
I'll say my thanks to him now. Nobody could have a better kid. He's 15, he's big, he's been lifting weights, but there's not a day goes by where he won't hug or kiss me. Then I need to have my sister come up.
I think she left.
Where is she?
I think she left. Alex was dressing up for the grab.
Oh.
Oh, Chris is gonna stand in.
Al? Need Al Pachico to come up.
I got a little gift for him first. Yeah.
He's one of those rowdy people at the bar.
I know.
Al, thanks a lot for dressing up for this special occasion.
This is older than you've been in garage.
Must be old then.
It's old. Is that it?
Doug, we had some of this and we were in high school. High karate.
Always a free date that we never will have.
There's a lot of pictures in that photo album. A lot of these guys have been hanging around me for a long time. And I've been a nice guy for all this time, let them hang around me, and I had enough. But there's pictures in there, and when Al used to spar, we used to call it, before we had the karate school, we call it, remember Gary, the school of garage dope. In the winter, we sparred in the garage. In the summer, we sparred in the driveway. One time we were out there sparring, my 70-year-old neighbor came running over. He said, I thought you got attacked by guys riding by. I was going to call the police. Poor Mr. Sharp, I'll right in there, forget that. We'll get this is not an honorary black belt, this is official black belt. It says John Bogdanski, this is to certify you have completed all the advanced requirements to be awarded the rank of first degree black belt. Congratulations. I'll say just a couple things, because a lot of these guys came a long way. You know, Nuxar came from New York, and you know, Wali Islam came from East Thompson. But there's a lot of, so the holiday's coming up, it's Thanksgiving, but I'll take my Thanksgiving tonight, because you guys are all special to come here. You know, like Dr. Pascarella said so many nice things about me, but it's you that helped make me what I am, and I'm thankful to all you. So this is my Thanksgiving. I won't have any turkey on that day. And I want to especially thank my mom and dad who are not here. They passed on. I love them and miss them dearly. And a lot of you guys know mom and dad. And they all choked up.
All right. You're allowed. Okay.
first awards night what we had about 85 people come, and of course my dad in his inimitable charm says to me, all these people came for you? I said, yes, Dad, that's right, you know, so it was, you know, he was unforgettable, you know, he was very charismatic. He could talk, you know, to the millionaire sitting on one side of him or the person that was, you know, living on the streets on the other side. Everybody loved my mom and dad, people that knew them. I want to thank all the attendees, the friends that came, the families of the students, the great staff of black belt instructors we have. You guys are great, you know, and the school wouldn't be where it is without the team that I have. You know, it's the team that we preach all the time. Nuxar, we met in 1990, so every one of these guys has a great passion for martial arts, a passion for life. Every one of these martial arts masters. And Nuxar, when we first met him, he was full of compliments, and the story is exactly like he said. He goes, "You're a great martial artist. Who's your teacher?" And it's another student, because it was a great field. We brought 82 black belts from the U.S. to compete, countries all over. And so we met Nuxar, and I want to just tell you a short story. One of my students broke his hand sparring. He said, "Here, put this special ointment. I'm studying Chinese medicine." I said, "Great, what is it?" So he goes, "It's something about a mouse," because his English wasn't as good as it was then. He goes, "Like cheese?" He goes, "No, it's not a cheese ointment." He goes, "Yeah, what comes out of a mouse?" He goes, "Like hair?" He goes, "No, it comes out of the back end," he says. And meanwhile, he's rubbing the salve, and he's slowly rubbing. And Nuxar said, "Oh yes, this is not just regular mouse, whatever." It says, "This is 2,000-year-old mouse. Has many medicinal herbs." But thank you, Nuxar. You're a unique individual. I'm so proud to be your friend. Thank you. Master Garcia is here with his wife, and we've known each other a long time. Didn't have an opportunity to speak, but you know, we stay in touch, try to mentor each other, and that's what the martial arts is all about, is sharing. I have Steve Townsend and Charlie Fulford, some of my black belts here, and Charlie Fulford was instrumental in changing the face of the school. It's a lot of jiu-jitsu, and Steve Townsend, who Tangsu, jiu-jitsu, I don't know what the deal is.
No, I got one for you.
But they've been influential too. Steve Townsend still is a mentor to me. I call him up if I have a financial problem or a business problem. I call him up, and he's always there for me, without a doubt. So I want to thank you guys for that too. Mark Stockton, we call him Brother Mark. You know, so there's never a more likable person. He's the one that epitomizes friendship. If I ever went with him, he would take his coat off and give it to me if I needed it, because he just epitomizes the for people that don't have a reputation. She's